Good morning, and welcome to the Haven Tree Parent Podcast, where we get a chance to get away from the kids and talk about something that's important to us and you.
Today we don't have a special guest. Instead, we're in a new room, and we're having kind of a special topic and talking about our new news, which is that we are expecting our 6th child.
So yeah, the exciting news that we have to share today is that we found out we're expecting, I believe it's going to be December-ish. So look forward to that for the end of our interesting year of what 2020 was. So that'll hopefully...
A good ending.
Yeah, exactly.
To
Make
a
it a good
very
ending.
weird year.
Yes, exactly.
Hopefully it doesn't get much weirder than this, though. I'm like about to the point of like, okay, if 2020 wants to like chill the heck out, that would be cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of things happening for everybody, and there's a lot of just, I don't even know, just everything is offset, and people are out of routine and trying to figure out new routines and make up new places to go and do things. So
yeah, but let's talk about the good of 2020.
Sorry.
So, that's okay. So I think that it's important to kind of back up a little bit and explain how, because it's like the most common question that like parents of large families get. Like, well, you do know how this happens, right? And it's like,
yeah, I think I heard that twice or at least 4 times already. So
yeah. So, which is fine. Like, if you are a friend or somebody that has said that to us, it does not offend us. It very well might offend some people of large families because, when you go out in public with lots of kids, you do tend to get lots of comments. It's just not it's not what people do these days, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's lots of comments like, that happens, right? Like, are you having any more? Like, a lot of people that have like all girls and, like 7 girls or something like that, like may get more comments sometimes and different things like that. And some comments are like kind of harmless and some comments are like more rude, So, for the most part, I don't think we've gotten very many rude comments. Like, I have had people say like, they'll say like, oh, are you shopping for a party? And I'm like, no, I just have 5 kids at home, or like, so there's some of that. But typically, and I think like probably once when we had both of the nieces, I got a couple of comments when I took all 5 of them. Because they were all, we had 5 under 5 for a while. And so we would occasionally get, or I would occasionally get some not very nice comments about like having so many, so close in age, things like that. But like by and large, and I think like the people in our circles don't really, like they know us, and they know that we've said we want a big family since before we had any kids. So
Right.
I think it's not really that surprising. But I will caution, if you know a parent of a large family, you ask them some of those questions, you may get a sarcastic answer. And part of that for me, I tend to be, that's my humor, is to be a little bit sarcastic,
Right.
But we thought it was important to kind of share the news of this baby, because it is very unique, right? With Obi, we were being very conscientious of the calendar and not engaging in any activities when I should be able to get pregnant. And we still ended up pregnant, which is fine. Obviously, Obi's 18 months old now, and we love him, and he is, like this wonderful addition to our family that we didn't know we needed until he came to our family, right?
Yeah.
So, obviously, we always say now, we had Obi in the midst of like the biggest crisis of our lives, and Obi is just, this explosion of joy and silliness all the time. Like that's just who he is.
Yeah.
He's just such a clown, and he just is such a happy kid in a way that's so different than the others, you know.
Right. I think it breaks up a little bit what the others, like what Unity had been for a while, and I
Yeah.
think it just adds something new because
Yeah.
he had to stay with us for the first 6-7 months
Right.
of helping take care of Kenzie at the hospital and whatever,
Yeah.
and only recently he's really been able to like stay with the big kids, and I think
Yeah.
that's sort of like starting to change their dynamic,
Yeah.
where he's like. He's fitting in great, like you're
Yeah.
saying. He's hilarious. They laugh at him. They think he's funny. They play like peekaboo or whatever, and he has a blast. Like right now, when I was down there, they were playing tag, and he was screaming, chasing one of them, like ah,
Yeah.
but just changing their environment. And I
Right.
think that's what adding a new baby or a new kid
Right.
always. You don't see that for 2 years, and that's the hard part. I think
Right.
when you're
Like,
when you're
we're not sure we're ready right now, and then a baby comes very unexpectedly, and it's like, and especially for Obi in particular, like I did have a really hard time with Obi because it just sort of felt like we were, preventing getting pregnant, and he came anyway, and so it was this surprise, and we were excited, and then when we found out Kenzie had leukemia, it was sort of like,
yeah, we had just found out what we were expecting with
what
him.
are you doing? Like, what?
found
I
out.
can't do this. Was really kind of how I felt a lot of that pregnancy. Like, I cannot do this. And obviously, like I said, like he was the biggest blessing and came at the most perfect time for us of just like, I don't know, sort of being a blessing in the midst of chaos and grief and difficulty for us.
Right.
Obi was just kind of like such a bright spot. And so obviously, God did know what he was doing, but like it was something that, for a while it was a more emotional pregnancy, which obviously like when you're finding out that your kid has cancer and dealing with that, like it's going to be kind of emotional.
I have good news and bad news.
So, so that was,
I think it's like for the next 2 months, like what's going on? Well, two big things.
yeah,
Which one do you want to talk about? Because
Yeah.
I can either go into both.
really
at the same
good,
time.
really bad. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
But after Obi, we kind of were like, okay, 2 boys, 3 girls, 5 kids is like a large family. It's not like but we don't need a bus, even though I wanted a bus. And it was actually a point of great contention for a while.
Oh yes.
But we don't need a bus. And, we might, this might be it, and we didn't make any big decisions, we weren't decided. But we did decide to use a hormonal birth control for the first time in our marriage because we had gotten Obi with our previous method. And, we really were wanting to be a little bit more intentional. And I also knew because of the stress that I was under with Kenzie, trying to pay attention to the calendar was just not, it was too much stress for me. So to have something that I didn't have to think about or worry about was going to be better.
Right.
So, so we ended up using the NuvaRing. So, probably January is the last time I had a period. So I haven't had a period since because I've been using the NuvaRing the right way, easy peasy, switch it out every 4 weeks, no worries. And so that's been swell. And then a couple weeks ago, I was laying in bed, reading a book, and kept feeling what I thought was movement. So, I kind of ignored it and kept reading, kept feeling it. And I'm like, really weird, aggressive gas? Like, what is going on? And so finally, I thought, well, I'll just go see if I have a pregnancy test in the bathroom, like, because this is like getting ridiculous. So went and took a pregnancy test, and it was very immediately positive.
Ta-da!
Yeah. And this was at like, I was up really late reading. It was like 2:00 in the morning on a Thursday or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were asleep. And so I finally came out and woke you up. And I don't even know what I said to you.
I don't remember even. You were just like, So I have some interesting news.
Yeah, which I woke you up to tell
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
So you were
You're
probably like, did like our house
I know.
catch on fire
I
and
know.
you put it out?
Like, what happened at 2 a.m.?
Right.
Yeah, and I think you were just like, so we are expecting a new little one here in a few months, probably. And I was like, oh, really? And we know this because, and she's like, well, I went to test it. And I was like, oh, that's where you disappeared. Because I knew she had left the room for
Yeah.
a few. And I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, because
So-
usually I'm asleep way before he is. But like when I read, sometimes I stay up late.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I knew you left, but I didn't know that's what you were thinking that was happening. So, because usually, when the thought, I don't know, my thing has always been when she thought she was pregnant and she wasn't, I was like, well, sorry, you're not pregnant. Because I know in your mind, you're like already like freaked out. Like, I could be, I'm taking the test.
Right.
And so, I'm just trying to address those emotions or whatever. So, yeah, this
Yeah.
time was like, oh, really? Well, congratulations to us. And now let's process.
Yeah.
Now
I
I
think
need
we
a minute
just,
to like emotionally handle that
sat
information.
and stared at each other,
Yeah, and she was like, I'm going to take it because I wanted to like calm myself down
know.
and be able to go to sleep. No, I'm not calm anymore.
I'm not going to be able to go to sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was exciting news, and it was very, I don't know. Not hard to receive, but just like, oh, okay, we have to make a plan now.
Yeah.
So we have to plan for that. Which, I mean, it's funny because I think last month in the middle of the whole lockdown thing, we were like, we feel directionless. We need to have a new direction. And not that adding a new baby to the family makes you have too much clear direction as what you're to be going. We sort of know, obviously, what we're doing at this point with babies.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we know there's certain steps in place that will be having to happen
Yeah.
in the next 6 to whatever months. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
5 months? 4 months?
Yeah,
5 months.
something like that. So
Yeah.
it's ticking clock, but we know the process at this point. So
then have to finish the story, I guess. So I called the doctor and told them that I had a positive test. And they were sort of like, well, if you've been using the NuvaRing, you're probably not pregnant. I was like, well, I had a positive test and I've been feeling movement. So I'm kind of feeling like I might be. So they were like, well, we'll schedule you for an ultrasound and do some blood work, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. It's like, okay. So did the blood work, went in for the ultrasound, and the ultrasound tech was like, so when was your last period? And I was like, well, January, but that's because I've been using birth control. And so she kind of looked at me like, well, I don't think you're 6 months pregnant. And I was like, well, I don't either, but I do think that I'm like probably in the second trimester. So she was like, well, let's see what we can see, if we see anything. And found out that I was like almost 15 weeks. So that was,
rocketing along on this pregnancy.
yeah, easiest first trimester ever. So we've been, I think, mostly just trying to get our heads around it,
Yeah.
We're thrilled, we're ecstatic. Adri's ecstatic, obviously.
Right. Yeah. The girls are all about it. They want it to be a girl so that way they
All
can
the
dress it
girls,
up and push it
are
around.
like
And
already ready to like treat it like a baby doll. Saya,
Yeah.
the first thing he said to me was, if it's not a boy, I don't want it. And I was like, well, that's
Sorry.
not really like how this
Yeah.
thing works.
yeah.
And that's just very Sai. Like, he's just very like, very decisive.
So the last thing I was going to say was just like one thing that people always question about adding to the family is like, well, how are you going to have enough love for this new baby or whatever? And my thought has always been that the other kids will provide the extra love. They love each other. They'll love the new one too. And then the loved one eventually, once it's past 2 years old, will show love back and reciprocate that.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that, I tried to ask in our announcement video was just that, how are you going to show love to the new little baby?
Yeah.
And that was, what I wanted to hear the kids say, like, oh, I love it by snuggling it or giving kisses, like Kenzie
Right.
said, or like feeding it snacks and, just the ways that they think of loving each other
Right.
and taking care of each other and helping out. So,
And I think the other part of that is our love, the amount of love that we have is not, we don't have like 10 ounces of love, pounds of love that we have to then like give. you
Right.
know.
And
And
I
so
don't know
like
why
when a
people
new kid comes, that means we have to take some from the other kids to give the new one. That's not the way that it works.
Right.
I mean, obviously there's a, finite amount of time. And so we have to be conscientious and very intentional about our time to be able to give some to each of our kids.
Right.
But the amount of love.
And I think you mentioned in another podcast was what that like sure there's gonna be less photos taken of the new baby or less baby books or whatever like that
Right.
stuff will happen naturally.
Right.
But that doesn't mean there's less love for that baby.
No.
So
And and that's something we've always been really intentional with our other kids. Like just because this new baby's coming doesn't mean like we're gonna love you less or we're gonna it's gonna take away from you in any way.
yeah.
A new baby only adds it adds stress and extra work, but it also adds love and a new dynamic and balance to the family. And so, that is a very good point and something that I think we're both always kind of like surprised when people sort of ask that or imply that because that's not how we think about the kids or our relationship or interactions with them at all.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's very much like, well, they're going to love each other. So
Yeah.
there'll be more love going around for everybody. So,
Right.
yeah.
From us and with each other. And it is like every time we have a new baby, I'm just always so surprised at like the feeling of like, I didn't know that our family was missing this until it came. And now our family feels more balanced, more whole, more complete. And I love that. I love that that's every single time, we've brought a baby home, I felt that way. And I don't think that's going to change whether this is the last one or not. To answer another question, is somebody getting fixed after this? We don't know yet. And
highly
considered.
thought
It's
of.
considered for the first time.
Right.
It's not really ever been a topic of like serious discussion until now. So it is something that we're talking about.
Even for the 30 seconds of recovery that it sounds like it would be, I still do not care what to do that. So.
But, that's really something that like, again, is kind of one of those rude questions you don't ask people,
Right. Well, I don't know.
It is, it's rude. Like, it's not your business. I don't know. Like
your
so
favorite,
I've heard
like your favorite answer in the jokes was, "Why are you so interested in my ovaries?" Or
yeah. So I'm in a large family group on Facebook, and one of the moms said every time people ask that, she says, "Why are you so obsessed with my ovaries?" And I thought it was really funny, Or like when people say, like, "Do you know how that happens?" She says, "Oh yeah, we have live demonstrations every Friday night." So like. Those sarcastic comebacks, like once you've heard it enough times, like you do start just being like, it's really not your business, you know? And I think at the end of the day, like if you have the time and the finances and the desire for a big family, the more the merrier, like our life is a party every day.
Oh yeah.
I have an amazing fan club and a group of support and, an endless supply of snugglers and, like,
right.
So yeah, like it is a lot of work. And I feel like a chef and, a bus driver, which I'm going to feel even more like that with the new van and, a maid and a preschool teacher. But I wouldn't trade it, This is the life that we wanted, and it's overwhelming, and there's parts of it that didn't go the direction we thought or expected or hoped, but I wouldn't have it any other way either. So I think I speak for both of us when I say that,
Yeah.
And so, this isn't a story about like an unwanted pregnancy. This is a story about a very unexpected and amazing pregnancy.
Right.
And we're really excited to meet this little person that is already, the 1% of pregnancies that happen with
If it's a girl, do we name it Corona? If it's a boy, do we name it COVID? Like David?
Absolutely not.
I mean...
Absolutely not. So anyway, that means, we're going to kind of be talking about some pregnancy related stuff in
Right.
upcoming podcasts and blogs.
Yes, Mama Monday.
But so that'll be coming up.
Yes.
But that is why we've kind of like taken a few weeks off, because we've just kind of had to like,
Right, we were about to start our second series, and then we were like, we got big news. So it was like,
yeah, and we wanted to just take some family time to, you know, be excited about our news and just kind of let it sink in, and kind of figure out what's next. So, you know, obviously, like one of those things is we had to buy a bigger van because we don't have any more seats in our van, and would have to strap a kid to the roof otherwise, which is kind of frowned upon. But we do have a new series planned for the podcast that I'm really excited about. I had a plan for another series. We had just finished the chore series on the blog, but I had a plan for that, and I haven't quite decided. I may shift gears now, but we'll see.
subscribe, hit the little alarm button, and you'll get notified. So.
Shameless plug, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So anyway, I think
All
that's all the time we have for today.
Until the next adventure.
Bye.
Bye.